Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I listened to the majority of Russell Westbrook's exit interview because everybody's been telling us to revisit it. I didn't listen to the exit interviews. What I'm learning about myself is there's a lot of information I leave on the table by not being connected to Twitter and not watching interviews and press conferences and stuff like that, because I'm really the type of person where I truly don't care too much about the stuff that goes on outside of the game. But when it comes to knowing player tendencies and whether or not a guy is going to be willing to do certain things, you probably want to be tapped in, to say the least. So that's where I want to get my growth going, just on a personal level. But for the time being, I'm starting to tap in and starting to go back and revisit certain things. And that exit interview told us what I expected to hear based on the commentary said about the exit interview. But I think it zeroed in on a few things that allowed me to have my own thoughts. And since we talked so much about Russell last night, I thought it was only fair to go back and listen to what the man actually had to say, of course. So I didn't learn a whole lot other than just reaffirmation of what it is that they've been saying about him not having the willingness to speak more about, because he did mention he didn't play well, but more about his role in not playing well. And, I think the accountability jargon is what people want to hear from him, in order to kind of raise his trade value, not trade value, but player value is a better way of putting it. And so, I'm sitting there and I'm just watching his eyes, and he's not happy up there, to say the least. He's very unhappy with himself. He's very unhappy with the circumstance, but I don't think he's verbalizing that in a way that tells us everything that's inside. He's picking his words wisely, and he's putting up the strength in front of us. So that's kind of how I take it. It's not like a lack of accountability, more so than just a front of I'm strong and what, like, as opposed to, man, I am really down, and if you guys saw exactly how down I was, this wouldn't be appropriate conversation to have. Like, that's what it looked like to me. And so since I'm an internal person, maybe I'm just projecting what my brain would be on. Who knows what's in a person's mind? But just looking at his demeanor, you could tell it was heavy on him, and in his behavior. It looked to me as if there was more to be said. He said something that really stood out as well, along the lines of there were things going on behind the scenes that specifically led, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't quote well, but that basically led to what we saw, but he couldn't really speak up about those things or speak out about those things. That stood out to me because it spoke to things that would otherwise speak to why we saw him look as bad as he did. What I saw in a lot of his play, in the small sample size of 1 year, because of course I didn't watch him closely in any other season, but what I saw was a guy who was just really, really uncomfortable in the uniform, at home particularly. And I mentioned last night, it looked like the lights were too bright for him. It looked like the circumstances were a bit much for him. It looked like he was dealing with confidence issues to me. And it translated to him not playing well on the floor. Now, sometimes people can become despondent in certain situations, whether it be a traumatic experience that shakes you into a space of uncomfortable behavior to where your mechanics don't work. Maybe you've seen something happen. It's like, you know what I mean? But you can't tell nobody. That's what he was speaking to. Not necessarily something happening, but that he couldn't speak to why it actually was that he was as bad as he looked. And that's what I understand. When I always try to look, maybe it's just because I've been through a certain type of thing, I've had a certain walk in this world, but I always try to look for the cry out from underneath, so to speak. I can't tell you what's going on, but please read into it because I need help. I like blink, that kind of thing. If you if you're what they say, blink if you're in distress, that type of thing. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. That's the kind of thing I look for a lot of times in situations, and I sense something like that. Something like that is going on. Now, I don't know how deep it runs. I would never try to even go down that far into speculation. That's ridiculous. No basis for any of this. But just telling you what I'm vibing off of. I'm just telling you when I'm bouncing off my experiences of 37 years on this earth, looking at human beings and what they're portraying. He has more to say. He has more to say. And I think what he's trying to get us to understand is once we have the information, we'll be like, okay. Think Markel Fultz in the shoulder. If you followed that situation, it was a good long year and a half where we had no idea what was going on his shoulder. So they were talking about different things that he had going on outside, off the court, that maybe had something to do with maybe, why mental health stuff could be the case. The way he was shooting, they were taking, putting on YouTube how funny his shooting was looking, when it was looking like it was just a situation where he had lost his powers. Inexplicably, the kid there was no explanation. He had just lost his game and something wrong with his brain. And that was it. When actually, in actuality, as we learned what was going on, there was a perfectly logical medical explanation for why his shoulder wasn't able to use the same range of motion. And once they were able to get to the bottom of that, you understood that the things they were trying to rope into why they said that shoulder was messed up had nothing to do with that, right? Oh, he has this going on, this family situation, this, that, and outside the basket, and that's why he's mentally not prepared and is this. Like, no, none of that had to do with why he looked poorly shooting the basketball, why he was in so much pain with his shoulder. But because we couldn't come to any explanation, we couldn't come to any conclusion based on a lack of information, we were coming to conclusions that just weren't true. Speculation was allowing us to get the facts and the speculation kind of merged together, so we didn't know what was what. And until that information came out, basically had to more or less clear the kid's name. He's not mentally ill. He's not lacking in confidence to play the game. He's not a fraud or what have you, or whatever the heck they were trying to say. But he just needed to heal and get right. And now he's back to playing basketball, and he's on his trajectory to being a good player. The knee injury set him back, whatever. You get the point. The point is, there was a perfectly reasonable explanation with information that helped us understand why we were seeing what we were seeing. I think there's something to that for Russell Westbrook. I think something was going on down there specific to him that shook him to his core, possibly, and made him look very, very poor out there. Like, seriously. And that's what I think. And I think if he would open his mouth and tell us, maybe we would have the entire conversation based on that. And I think this world it's weird, man. You got to consider, when you're dealing with people who have all types of money and all types of different situations, you don't know what they're dealing with in real life because their PR teams are going to cover it up. You're never going to know if something tragic happens in their lives, or if something happens to where they see something. If they see something in life that traumatizes them and it hits the media, it's the biggest story. Do they ever heal from that trauma? No, it's probably best for them to heal in silence, and you never know about it, so the media can't get a hold of it. Russell Westbrook shooting a basketball poorly. You see how they're talking about it? If something were to happen in his life that was traumatic and they were to find out about it, how would they talk about that? You see what I'm saying? So this is why I speak the way I do, because somebody has to be looking for stuff like this. This is the same thing I said in regards to Miles Bridges' situation. I was going to be the bad guy because I see some things there that I just don't like. That doesn't mean that the truth isn't there for me to see that this took place. But the timing and the things around it give me reasons to say that there's other things to look around at the situation, because this was manipulatable. Even if it wasn't manipulated, the situation could have been manipulated, because I can surmise that it could have been. You got to look for possibilities of such. You have to. Otherwise, you let whoever did whatever get away with it. So even if they don't exist, you got to be aware of the possibility of such, so that you can guard against such possibilities. And that is what I'm saying. I'm looking for certain things. I don't know if I'm on to nothing or not, but what I'm telling you is, Russell Westbrook looked as if something happened to him. And as a result, he could not get right on the basketball floor. He was deep in his head, as it looked to me. And maybe we never know what the heck it was. But what I'm telling you is, for 9 long years, he didn't look like that. 10 years, he didn't look like that. Until he came home to L.A. And I know L.A. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I'm from L.A. I know L.A. You come home after a long time, anything can happen outside in L.A., especially when you're from where Russell's from. So what I'm telling you is coming home ain't always good for everybody. And I don't know that it was for Russell Westbrook. That's what I'm here to say. And I'm just keeping it all the way honest with you guys. I don't think this went well off the court. And I think that bled on to what took place on the court. Now, I'm not tapped in with Russell Westbrook. I don't know what's going on. I'm telling you the truth. I don't know. But what I'm telling you is, it feels like something's going on. And so for me, I just feel like he needs to get the hell away from LA. And that's what I see there. Him trying to bolt the Lakers may not necessarily have anything to do with basketball. Because when I look at his situation, I say it doesn't make sense for him to try to get out of LA as a Laker. 2 weeks ago, when he was going through that process of trying to be close to the team and all of that, there was a shift somewhere. Something happened. There was a shift there. And now he stopped playing ball with the team. Darvin Ham didn't change his tune. Nothing happened. He changed his tune with the agent and such. I just felt like Russell Westbrook's he's trying to leave the situation. And he's alluding that there's some things that we don't know. That's all I can say. That's all I can really be certain of. And what I saw was somebody who just flat out looked traumatized out there. And for 10 long years, he's been one of the most confident players of all time. So somebody tell me why he lost his confidence. That's what I'm trying to understand. And in the presence of losing his confidence, his demeanor tells me that he's stuck in the idea of him not playing well. But the words that coming out of his mouth is blaming everybody else for what happened. But then alluding to the fact that there are things he cannot say. That's why it was important for me to watch the interview, because I can bring you that, because that's what I see there. So it's a lot going on there, man. I'm telling you, it's a lot going on, and it ain't good. I can sense it, and I just think that the Lakers would be best to just continue on the path that they're on, trying to move on from Russell Westbrook, because he may not necessarily know what's going on, as I don't. But he looked bad out there for us. That's the bottom line, that we can't effectively be certain that he's going to come back and play any different. He can't effectively be certain but he's going to come back and play any different. And listen to how he's talking on that stage. He's not certain what will make the team better in his mind. You know, he opted in because he needed to opt in. But in order for the changes that he feels needed to be made, in order for those to be made, he alluded to other people having to leave. And I read in between the lines in regards to that communication as well. He was essentially saying, like, in order for the Lakers to improve, people have to go. That's essentially what he's saying. In order for the changes that I want to be made to take place, others have to leave. So that's obviously not going to happen. But it's the way you speak in regards to opting in with the choice to opt in. You see what I'm saying? It's just how you word things. But ultimately, he would much rather not have the Lakers as currently constructed. And of course, none of us did. He spoke it to his lack of a relationship with Frank Vogel, of course, which is something I had some commentary for, because even though I'm not on the Frank Vogel train, I didn't really like how Frank Vogel handled last year at all on the court and the strategies. But I didn't also like how Russell Westbrook explained the relationship falling apart based on what it seemed to me was Frank Vogel trying to ask Russell Westbrook to prove himself within the system that they were playing. It was like Russell Westbrook feels, in his words, it seemed to me that he's a Hall of Famer. I know what I bring to the table. Let me do that. And that's essentially what he's saying, whether it be errors made or successes. Give me the ball. Let me be myself. And I can give you what it is that the experience of Russell Westbrook is. But when you tell me to do other things, I'll do my best, but I can't do it. And that's understood. But what he was saying is they didn't give him an opportunity to be himself. And what I'm saying is the sacrifice to do that doesn't make the team better. And it's best that he understand that. Carmelo Anthony could have very well said, if you give me my kickstand and the rhythm that I'm used to, I can hit 18 shots every night. You give me 30 of them, I can hit 18. Just let me get them consistently. Well, yeah, buddy, that definitely will get you in your rhythm. But is that what's best for the team? No. Why? Because we literally have the best basketball player in the world on our team, and we need to kind of give him the ball so he can do the things that he does best. That's what makes us better. So it's that self-awareness and that ability to slot in and understand that what's best for me may not necessarily be what's best for the team, that I think was a disconnect there. And I think that Russell Westbrook, it seemed to me, set certain boundaries that needed to be stepped over in order for the team to be run successfully, is what I gathered. And I don't think he really understood that. It's like, yeah, you can set your boundaries, bro, but in order for me to do my job, I have to do this, 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 and this. And if I can't communicate to you that I need you to do this, that, and the third, or more so, specifically, if I tell you, okay, Russell, we're gonna play you at an interim basis at this position, please show me that you can do these things. And if for some reason you can't do these things, I'm gonna have to take you out of this position. If you say no, I don't have to prove myself to you, and because you asking me to do that, our relationship ain't gonna be good. I don't like you because of that. Then that doesn't work, man. You're not allowing him to do his job. The boundary that you set is a boundary he has to step over. And judging by what Russell said, that's what I gather was going on. He was setting impossible boundaries for the coach. Coach ain't supposed to ask him to do nothing in regards to trying different things. Bro, it's not that I'm asking you to prove to me that you can play basketball. It's that I'm asking you to prove to me that you can do this functionality within the game itself. And so it's like, I guess, for example, if I'm asking Michael Jordan to play center, he's got to prove to me that he can guard Patrick Ewing. Now, he doesn't have to prove to me he's the greatest player of all time, but he does have to prove to me that he can do that specific thing. And what I gathered is the disconnect was somewhere in there, where Russell Westbrook's like not feeling that at all. Another thing that I gathered from what he was saying was in assessing himself and how well he was playing, he assessed how he's getting his assists, his rebounds. He mentioned stats. And that is the narrative that people have been screaming about, how stats tend to rule everything about him. He is assessing his successes based on statistics. And while that's on one hand based on what his personal goals would be for his career, that's intentional and necessary. But as it pertains to how people view basketball, as it pertains to you fitting in and making a team work within a specific system, your statistics only but so much really tell the story. Some of the things that you're going to be needing to get better at are the things that don't show up in the stat sheet. And I think that speaks to just an overall understanding of the science of the game. You can get your stats, but within the course of what the Lakers needed you to do, maybe it's not about the statistics itself. Maybe it's not about how many rebounds you pull down. Maybe it's about how many plays you can run where you play get a couple of passes. I don't know, whatever the goal is for the team. But the point is, maybe it was about setting screens. Maybe it's about leaking out. Maybe it's about whatever basketball technical stuff that actual basketball players know that I do not. But what I'm saying is, I understand that the science is based on what does not necessarily accumulate in the stat sheet, specifically for Russell Westbrook as it pertains to him playing better in the areas that he's not very good at. In other words, if he's assessing the improvement of whether or not he's getting better at the things that he's good at, it ain't going to show up in the rebounds, and it ain't going to show up in the assists. It's going to show up in the lack of fouls. It's going to show up in the lack of turnovers. It's going to show up in the efficiency. And that is what I'm saying. It's not just about the stats. It's about what you're doing to help the team. Are you passing in rhythm? Are you making good plays? Are you slowing the plays down? Are you whatever? You know what I mean? But the point is, if it's just about, did I get 8 rebounds? Did I get 10 rebounds? Did I get 10 assists? If it's that, and then you say, I played well, that's where everything goes wrong. That's where your coach is like, I can't deal with this dude. That's where people are saying, I can't bring him in. That's where people are saying, even at a minimal contract, I'm scared to bring him in because I'm going to ask him to do certain things. And if he doesn't interpret what I'm asking him to do respectfully, I'm not going to be able to coach this guy. And he doesn't bring enough to the table for me to be tiptoeing around him like that. You know, it's like the realization of that, of where your value is at this point, and being able to adjust that mentally immediately. It's damn near impossible, but it's necessary nevertheless in the space of this NBA. That's to where he said he wasn't utilized properly. He said he could be someone that helps people off the court and do different things and cultivate friendships and things of that nature is what he brings to the table. But it starts with an accountability understanding of, first, you're willing to look inward, and then you're willing to understand what it is that is needed from you as it pertains to helping others. For example, as we said in the video we were talking about yesterday, if he takes that mentality and he places it on the kids, they're going to think because they get rebounds and assists that they've played well. And that if they're leading by example, they don't have to listen to the coach at all. If they get to a certain level in life where they've accomplished certain things, maybe get enough assists and enough rebounds to feel good about themselves, they no longer have to learn from the coach, prove anything to the coach within certain specific circumstances. These are examples you do not want young players to follow. You see what I'm saying? And these are things he doesn't realize that he's showing. He's giving us these examples like, yep, I can't deal with that. Nope. There goes another thing I can't do. Nope. He doesn't get it. You know what I mean? And then throwing Bron under the bus, saying the man was lying. Bad business decision, sir. Very bad business decision. I don't have to tell you why that's a bad business decision. It's a bad business decision. You know, LeBron James has been going on a campaign saying he wants Russell Westbrook to be himself. Now, judging from what I saw, I think he was giving him ample opportunity to do that. I truly believe that. Judging by what I saw, he had the ball in his hands more times than not. But maybe it's not limited to that. Maybe it's other things that I just ain't privy to that speak to him being allowed to be himself on the basketball court. However, when you're talking about LeBron James, you got to understand the world around him. He ain't going to be able to just walk up to you and say, hey, bruh, can you just kind of say this? Because these two things are tied together. So if you don't say this, it messes up that for me. And this needs to go this way. So could you just, like, he ain't going to be able to do all that. Like, that is not the environment he's in. If he does that, he opens up doors for other things. He gives certain information. Like, when you get to the level that he's at, when you got so much business and so many different things that you have to guard against, so many different image things that you have to be aware of, people watching you 24/7, your body language could determine whether or not someone has faith in keeping you involved with this business deal. The way you speak to that person could determine whether or not your relationship over there works out with this business. There's too many different things tied to LeBron James for him to just be forthright with you. You feel me? Like, when you start understanding billionaire games and how they have to play to keep things rolling and what they're doing, it ain't as simple as just being honest all the time. It just literally cannot. And I know that. So when you understand what you're dealing with in a guy like LeBron James, you kind of just got to know certain things. And if you're not schooled on how to move around a guy like that, you're gonna end up like Russell Westbrook. You're gonna end up looking crazy and unaware of how to move around a person like that. And that's essentially what it is. He's looking for authenticity in a political situation. That's not how that works. This is not how it works. You're in a world of political web. People are going to do things and say things that they do not mean for reasons that have to do with other moves that don't have nothing to do with what you got going on there. And so everything is deliberate around him. The people around LeBron James are deliberate. The people across from LeBron James are deliberate. The people above LeBron James are looking down on LeBron James deliberately. All of this stuff around him is centered around him. The media moves as he moves. He's not going to be able to tell you, hey, bruh, this is how it goes. Line up over here. It's just, I'm trying to help whoever's watching me understand that just because you come with your principles from your household and your world, once you step into a world where everything's connected, where people are connected to different things everywhere, they have to behave a certain way. They have to. They are guarding against things that you're not aware of. And if they don't, things go haywire for a lot of people, not just them. And so because I understand this is like, all right, if you're not prepared for what comes with that, you can't stand next to a person like that. And that's what I would tell Russell Westbrook. He's not ready for nothing like that. Even though he's in that world in his own way, once he got next to Bron, that was not it, man. That's the bottom line. That was not it. And I think that's what KD alluded to as well. He don't want to be around that circus, man. It ain't got nothing to do with LeBron James. It's about the world he's in and how you have to move around him and how things have to be around him. And it's like, that's not for everybody. If you just put me in a room and we playing cards, yeah, I want to be around Bron, blah, blah, blah. But once you got to go into his world, when he steps out into the world where the camera's on, you don't have nowhere to stand, man. There's too much going on around that dude. You know what I mean? And with people like him, Kanye, people like, there's too much going on around. They got too much to guard against. You can't even fathom what it is they're trying to do. They got 7 to 8 moves down the line that they're working on right now that have to do with why they're standing a certain way or talking a certain way, wearing their hat a certain way. It's like, no, man, no, no. A person like Russell Westbrook, in my opinion, just needs to be somewhere unassuming. Indiana, Sacramento, San Antonio, where you just play ball, man. No politics, no superstardom, no weird stuff, blind spots that you can't see politically. Just basketball contracts, and that's it, man. Because when you come into the Lakers, bro, you're in a circus. You're in an entertainment circus, in the entertainment capital of the world. And I know people say New York is the biggest city in the world. We are giving them a run for their damn money, I promise you. So, like, this is a perfect storm. LeBron James, LA Lakers. You don't get more famous than that. If you can't be your best next to that, you're gonna be focused on. Like, you're gonna be zeroed in on, like Russell Westbrook, and it's gonna be bad. So I just felt like Russell Westbrook wasn't necessarily schooled about how to maneuver around a guy like Bron in that way. And I look at OKC. Because I say James Harden came from OKC, Kevin Durant came from OKC, and now, of course, we've seen Russell Westbrook as well. What were you teaching those guys when they came into your organization, fam? Like, what the hell? Why are they like this? Like, don't get me wrong, I respect all three of the men, but they don't know how to maneuver in the environment they're in, and they're three of the biggest stars in the world. They should have known how to move, man. Straight up. What were you teaching these guys when it was time to do media training, when it was time to do different courses on how best to maneuver through contract negotiations and how to all of that? What the hell, man? These are three of the biggest stars in the world, and they just keep making mistakes after mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. All three of them, honestly. And that's the elephant in the room. What the hell was OKC teaching these kids when they got them there? It's like, we got talent, that's it? No, you got to do some athlete training, man. It has to be different things you got to teach these guys on how to move, how to speak, and what to guard against, so that they don't find themselves in situations like this. Russell Westbrook should have never been making all these slippery slope mistakes outside of basketball as it pertains to this offseason. Having the whole situation with LeBron James across from him and all of that, he should have never been a part of nothing like that. You know, the whole situation with the agent, this is all stuff going on around him. I'm telling you. And it's just like, you know what? If I'm Russell Westbrook, I'm taking my $46 million. And maybe I want to keep playing basketball, maybe I don't. But after this experience, honestly, I'm probably cool. Just cool. I'm calling it a career for real. Like, I don't even know if I love it like that no more. Like, that's just how I would feel at this point. I got enough of this. I got all my money. I had enough of this. Because it's a lot, and you can just clearly see it's too much for the man. I'm just being as transparent with y'all with my opinion as possible. It's too much for him. You know? So that's my take on things. Obviously, it's plenty I don't know. But, you know, I hope he's able to get the healing that he needs right now. Because that's what needs to happen, regardless if it's just some trauma or just this situation alone. Healing needs to take place in Russell Westbrook's life. And that's pretty much it, man. I'm still very much thinking that there's nothing going to be done anytime soon. No trades, nothing like that. Not in these waters, as we say. So I'll keep you guys posted if anything comes. But for now, it's just a bunch of conversations like this until there's some news. But I just been thinking a lot about this after the last night's video, and now watching a little bit of that press conference. It's just like, nah, that dude, he is out of his element. He's out of his element, and the world around him is not what it was. It's not Rockets. It's not OKC, and it certainly isn't the Washington Wizards. So it is what it is, man. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching.